Hello everyone. Today we are going to go over chapter 3 and we're going to start with the head section of the HTML document. The first tags we're going to look at is the meta tag, or three different meta tags. The first one is the one here that describes the character set as UTF-8, right? And what this does is it ensures that the HTML document is interpreted correctly by web browsers, allowing them to display text content in various languages. Okay? If for some reason you do not have this here, your web page will work without this when you're testing it for yourself, right? If you don't have this though, then browsers will often default to a particular character encoding if one is not specified in a document. However, this default encoding may vary depending on the browser, its version, and the user settings. So you always really want to make sure that you have that tag defined in the head of your HTML document. Okay? Now I put these in here as comments. We're not going to leave this here. This is just more for demonstration purposes. Okay. Actually, let's just go ahead and remove that right now. We'll clean this up as we go. So the next meta tag is the description tag. And it is important for search engine optimization. It helps search engines understand the content of the page. So you always want to make sure that you have the correct wording in here that reflects the description of your page, okay? The next one here is keywords. This is also very important for search engine. This is how things are ranked. They have little bots that go out and they search the internet and they index web pages, right? And these web pages, one of the most important parts of indexing the web pages are these keywords, okay? So it's very important to have all of those in your head section, okay? We're just going to kind of clean this up as we go. The next part is the title, okay? And you should have a title for each web page that you have that describes that actual web page, okay? And this is the title that a user will also see. So here we have my cycling web page. So we'll go over here real quick. Make this bigger. So here's my cycling web page. So the user will see this, right? Sorry, just trying to get this formatted correctly. Now another tag that's in the head section is a style tag. So you can either have, you can have your CS styles within your page, or you can have them in a separate file. We're going to discuss why it's very important to have them in a separate file, but a lot of times, just for ease of demonstration, it's a lot easier to just have them right here in the page. And we're going to skip over this for right now, okay? So the next area I want to discuss is emphasized and italicized. So if you look over here on the right, you can see that emphasized and italicized looks pretty similar. It looks pretty similar here, right? But the whole purpose of using emphasized is that screen reader will pronounce the word with emphasis. So when a screen reader, if you have a screen reader attached, so that's used for people who are visually impaired, and they use screen readers, and a screen reader will read this as emphasized, to really put emphasis on it. Whereas italicized, it doesn't do anything. So italicized is more for visual, right? Emphasizes is used for screen readers, and it would be called would be semantically preferred, as it indicates emphasis, right? Next, we will look at the block level elements. So there's a number of block level elements, okay? And as you see over here, you see this is a block element, this is an inline element. From just looking at this, it looks the same, doesn't, you don't see anything different there really, right? Except the words are different. But I'm going to show you the important parts. Like a block element always starts on a new line, okay? And it always takes up the full width. It stretches to the left and to the right as far as it can, right? And two common block elements are P tag, which is a paragraph tag, and a div tag, right? So there's a few different inline tags also, and a span is an inline tag, and also links, right? The href tags, these are links, right? These are also inline tags. Okay, so let me show you a little kind of a, I want to say a trick, but a good way to really help you understand. So I have this commented out, right? And this is a CSS style, right? Let's get rid of all of that, I think. And just to kind of review here real quick while we're here. So our type selectors are usually always, not usually, there are always HTML elements like a body tag, a P tag, right? A span tag. Now, when we have a period or a dot before it, that means it's associated with a class, right? If it had a pound sign, that would mean it is associated with an ID, okay? So right here, we've got that. So as soon as I hit save here, we're using live server, right? And I can show you that real quick again. But as soon as I save this page, you can see it put a border here. And this is kind of a nice, I used to always use borders a lot for testing purposes. I'm not saying there's not, there's better ways, there's other ways, but it's a nice, quick and easy way sometimes to see where you've got something. You put a border around it, you say, oh, okay, I see why it's going, this length, and it's just good for visually kind of understanding what's going on. So like I said, we're talking about a block element, and a block element goes, as you can see, all the way from left to right, right? It doesn't stop after the T here. It goes the whole distance, right? And that was the, what did we have down there? Let's go take another look real quick. So that was, and here when I was saying class, so up above in that style had dot border block, right? And so that refers to a class. So since this class, it goes and looks for border block, it finds border block, and it applies the style to the contents of this P tag, okay? And then we have the span tag down here. I have border inline. This is inline, right? So let's see what we can see the difference. We put a border around that one. Let's see if we can see difference. So I just have this uncommented, and I'm gonna or I had a comment, I'm going to uncomment it. Let's save it here. When I hit save, I just hit Control Save. And since I have live server running, it'll automatically change. So to get this started from the beginning, though, you can, within your file, you can right click and choose Open with Live Server. And that's as long as you do have that extension that was part of the original setup, environment setup, right? So Open with Live Server, and it'll open it, and I just have this over here. Once you have it open, every time you save something, it'll reflect it over here. So now that I uncommented this border for this inline, as you can see, this was a span tag, right? So see how this is different? This is an inline, right? It's only within the contents there. It's only within the contents of that span tag, as opposed to a block element. All block elements are going to be like this, all the way from left to right. It's like a whole line. It takes up the whole line. It's a whole new line, right? So let's do something here real quick. Let's just put another one in here. No, I don't want to do that one. Let's put another one in here. And even though, say new line, we're not really talking about coding. So this is like 2 lines here, right? But you see how it did? Even though this is on a separate line, it doesn't make a difference. That doesn't make it on a separate line in the page itself, right? And since this is an inline, it doesn't go on a new line, right? It's going to just continue to append to it until it reaches the end. You do enough of these, you'll start getting of course, then it's going to start wrapping over, right? So a lot of times you'll see these little red lines. It's just kind of, it's kind of just, actually, it's not an error. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just telling you that you got extra spacing there. It's, to help you just kind of keep things cleaned up, right? And, I know a lot of this stuff, I've got a lot of spacing in between here, comments. We really don't, you really don't want to do this. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, okay? So we took care of both the block and, one more here's another one that's another inline one is links, right? A href tag, right? You can see same thing here. They just go one right after another. Doesn't matter if you put it on a separate line in the editor, since it's an inline, it's going to stay on that same line. Now there's ways to change that, right? By using a certain tag, right? I'm just going to take, whenever you put a tag, it always going to and save there. And now you see what happened there? Since it was within a paragraph tag, which is a block element, right? Then it's on a line by itself, right? Okay, now we're going to talk about semantic elements a little bit. So first, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of this. I'm going to hit Control S to save it over here. And it will be reflected over here on the right-hand side, right, in the browser. So semantic elements in HTML are those that carry meaning just beyond just presentation. They provide information about the structure of the document and the content they contain. Some of the common ones are on the screen. There's other ones as well. A handful of other ones as well. I'm just wanted to show you a handful of them. So using semantic elements appropriately makes the HTML code more descriptive, easier to understand, and better structured for accessibility and search engine optimization purposes. Okay. All of the HTML structural elements are block elements, just like we were looking at those block elements before. They take up the whole page. We'll take another look at that here in a second. And since the structural elements like these identify the contents of the elements, right? They are called semantic elements, and the process of using them is called HTML semantics, right? So over here, you can see these are the tags. There's the header tag. It's always going to be the top part and the footer tag. And then we're using a nav tag, right? The navigation here, section tag, and article tag. Now these can be formatted to be put in different places and everything else. Obviously, you're going to have your header always at the top and your footer always at the bottom. But you can have your navigation over on the left-hand side. There's lots of different things you can do, right? And just because, I have section article don't mean you have to have section and article. You could have, just navigation and 5 sections and that's it, right? So, there's lots of different options and ways to do things, right? But also back to, we were talking about block elements before, and you know how I made those green so we could see how they stretch the whole page. The same thing here with the semantic elements, right? They are also considered block elements, okay? Okay, I want to discuss folder structure a little bit and also relative and absolute paths, okay? So I'm sure you're starting to get used to Visual Source Code quite a bit now. And one way to toggle your folder structures by clicking on your Explorer back and forth, right? So for this project, our root directory is this all coursework, right? Underneath that, we have final, these ones that that we all share, that you have the same final project, the HTML, CSS, the JavaScript, the midterm, right? So I've done a couple other things here because it's just for demonstration purposes. And I have this folder called demonstrations. And I also dropped a couple images out here. The one I'm going to kind of refer to right now is the cycling one in here. So if we go into drill down in here into demonstrations, we have a chapter 3 directory, we have an image directory, we have a styles directory. Just like here, if you can see, here's our all coursework directory, and you have demonstrations. Under that, you have chapter 3 is one directory, you have images, and you have styles, okay? And under chapter 3, we have articles, and we have the cycling 1.html file, okay? We're going to go into we're in that already. So one thing we wanted to kind of do here is make sure that we can access the cycling.jpg here in that root directory, right? So this is not a good place for this, but just for demonstration purposes, we're going to access this on our page, okay? And then we'll go ahead and move it into our image directory where it really should be, okay? So here you see images cycling, and obviously you don't see the little bicycle here because it's not finding it, right? So for us to find this, if it's at root, right? If it's at the root directory, it's under the root directory cycling, what we need to do is we need to do that / and then the file name, okay? I'm going to hit Control Save, and then there's our bike, right? But obviously this is not a good place for this. We'd like to move this a little closer to things we're using here. So I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to move this one too. Copy, paste that one there too. So now we have them here at this image folder. Now, one good reason to have an image folder maybe at this, like this at the demonstration level, right? So like if I want to access this, if I do some demonstrations for chapter 4, I have a chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6 directory. I don't want to copy the same image into every chapter directory, right? But if it's one level up, if it's more at the demonstrations folder level, then I can just access it there, right? We don't want to copy it. We don't want to refer down the path of things, and also we don't want to copy it all, copy an image over and over and over and into different directories, right? So this is a good place for this to be for my demonstration purposes, and especially if I use it for different chapters, right? For demonstration. So now, as you can see, Live Server updated this, a little bit ago once we moved it, and I can't find it anymore. So now we have to go change our path to find that. So we're in an images directory, right? So let's just go ahead and put images in there and see if that will work. Will that work? So cycling 1.html is at the articles level. It's at this level, right? It's under this articles folder, right? But our images are up higher than that, right? So if we just do this, we can see that's not going to work, right? So what if we do ... one level up? Will that work? We save that. That's not going to work either, because that is referring to not the articles level. Using those two dots says move up one directory. We move up one directory. That's at the chapter level, right? Images is not, the images directory is not under the chapter 3 directory, right? It's under the demonstrations one. So we need to go up another one, all right? So if we go ... /, and now we save that, there we go. Now we can access that image, okay? And this here is considered a relative path, and it's relative to the directory structure, okay? It's relative to the directory structure. It's all based on that, okay? Now I want to show you, let's make this little again, I think, for now. Toggle this. So I have this link, I have this address here to this bicycling.com, bikes and gear, right? So this is considered an absolute path, right? This is the absolute path of, some page out there, right? Let's just pretend this is our page that we made and it's out there. We've deployed, we've deployed it out to the internet, and that's our page out there. Now there's a reason we really don't want to use an absolute path within our code like this. It's different if we're just linking to go to different things, but if it's ours, right? If this bikes and gear page is ours, and it should be within our directory structure. So we really want to use a relative path to that, right? Even if this is ours and it's our site and it's out there somewhere, we don't want to refer to it that way, because maybe we want to make some changes, and we're going to do that all locally, right? We're not going to be doing those changes live out on the internet, right? We don't push things out to the internet until we've coded it and tested, everybody signed off, and then we'll deploy it out to the internet, right? Now it's fine, like I said, not to confuse things, it's fine to have links to external websites just for that. But if it's something that's ours, it's part of our website, one of the directories, one of our pages, we want to have we want to keep that local so we can test all that locally, right? So just for the heck of it here, we're going to see. So like if you go down here to bikes and gear, right? And we click on this, it's going to this website, which that's what we expect to happen, right? But if we have a bikes and gear page, let's say we have a bikes and gear page like this, right? Bikes and gears. Sure. So we want to, for that, we want to do what do we call this? And I think I made it gears. I should have made it gear, but that's okay. .html, right? So we have this guy. Let's see what happens now. Let's see. Now if we click bikes and gear, boom. We go to the bikes and gear page. Lots of bikes, lots of gear. So now we're going to our local directory structure. This file is over here, bikesandgears.html. Now we're going to that, right? And that's how we want to set up things, you know, for when we're building things locally. You know, we want to always be referring to everything within our local environment, right? Just a couple other things I wanted to discuss here. Okay. So we've got, you know, a couple little. So now we want to go ahead and talk about character references a little bit. Okay. Now this ampersand here, you see on the page here, in this div, this ampersand. The ampersand character declares the beginning of an entity reference, like a special character. So if you want it to appear in text on a web page, you need to use the encoded name entity, which is at ampersand, okay? So if we use that, this is the correct way to put an ampersand on an HTML page. And you can say there's an ampersand. Now, even though sometimes it will work, you can run into problems depending on other things you're doing, and just because of it's kind of a special character, and it can cause some problems. It's not treating it like text; it's treating it in a different way than text. Okay, so that's why you should always use the at amp semicolon, right, for an ampersand, right? Now there's also another one is a non-breaking space, which is at NBSP semicolon, and that's a non-breaking space. So if you see over here, you've got a bunch of spaces, because I put a bunch of these in here, right? You get rid of these. And what this is, it doesn't create a new line. It just puts a space in between these, right? A lot of times people use these. You know, I've seen pages where people do things like this, and it's like that to space something, and that's really a bad idea. But sometimes it does come in handy to use one here and there. But if you're doing something, you know, where you're stringing a whole bunch together, there's better ways to do that. Okay, but occasionally there may be a reason you want to do that, right? And I'm going to hit Control S here, and you'll see it'll bring it in. If we get rid of this, it'll bring it in even a little closer together. Well, I did the wrong thing there, sorry. Yeah, so that's the normal. So sometimes you need to use a non-breaking space, right? So another character reference is the copyright sign, and this is the correct way. I hope you can see that. It's probably hard for you to see. I hope that's been okay for you guys. Should have done that a long time ago. So here you've got at 2024 Jim Coppin, right? And that's your copyright. That's what you use for a copy. And them are all considered character references, right? These are character references for these special characters, which at copyright one, ampersand one, and this is non-breaking space. Okay. So a couple other things I wanted to discuss, especially since I know it's mentioned on the homework assignment, it's part of the homework assignment, and that is to create a wrapper around your content on your page. And I already have this in here, but I have this div, and this is my wrapper. The class is wrapper, so my style is going to, up above is going to have wrapper, right? And then here's the beginning of that, and here's the end of that. And as you can see, it's all within the body tag, right? So it's pretty much all the content here within the body tag, right, is this wrapper, right? So as you can see, this right now, this is pretty much taken up most of the page here, right? And it's basically because there is some formatting that's kind of formatting this to a certain degree. So it's not 100% of the page, right? So if we go up here, so I have this style, and like we've discussed before, when you use a class on a element, HTML element, we use that class attribute. You have to use when you define it in your cascading style sheet here, within your CSS, you need to use a period or a dot, correct? Just a review, and if it was an ID, if I had that div tag and I had an ID attribute, right? ID attribute of wrapper, then I would use a pound sign here, right? A hash or a pound sign, right? So here, this wrapper, what we're setting is we're setting the width of the wrapper, basically at a whole div to 50%. And the second one here is a margin. And we're going to discuss padding and margins later, following chapters. But just to let you know, for margin, this first part here is the top and bottom, right? The top and bottom of the page. And the second one is left and right. So left and right would make it based on how you change your collapse or, move your page around, make it smaller, make it bigger. It will change, based on your auto here, right? So since we changed this, let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to see how that changes over on our page, right? So as you can see, it made this about 50% of the page, right? There's a lot on both sides, but this is about the 50%. It's centered, but this is about 50% of the page now, right? Now, a couple other things we can change here. For our body of our tag, get rid of, I got a little too many, commenting out a little too many things here. So we're going to change the background color. We're going to change the background color to this gray. Actually, let's get rid of that for right now. And once I saved it, as you can see, the background of this whole page, so this is all the body of the page turned to this gray color, right? This color here is the text of the body, right? So basically, it's the whole page. So any kind of tags you put in, any text you put anywhere on this page, if it's within that body within the body, which that's always the content, so it will be within the body. All of that color will be this bluish color, right? So once I save that, as you can see, it turned all the text blue. So these were a couple more items. I believe it's mentioned within the homework assignment. I just wanted to point those out. So one more thing we want to do here today is on this. We want to move all of our styles into a separate file. So I am going to take all of this, cut that out. I'm using Control X to copy, to cut it. And then we're going to go over here and under styles, create if you don't have a directory, you want to create one. Under styles, I am going to make a new file. Oh, let's try that again. New file. And we're going to call this styles, styles.css. All right. And then here, we're going to put all of our styles in here, right? We're going to save that. Hit Control S to save that. Now we're going to go back down here. We're going to get rid of this. Let's get rid of that there. And we're going to go ahead and link our style sheet now, right? So you do that by this, and what we call that thing? Styles, right? Styles.css, right? And oh no, I did that wrong. I don't know how I could do that wrong. This is actually style sheet, right? This, our href, that's where the style sheet, the name of the style sheet and the path to it, right? So we know the name of it, STY. Okay. And that, let's get rid of this. That's kind of getting in our way, isn't it? So here's a link to the style sheet. And so one thing is, it's kind of the same situation as cycling, right? The style sheet is under that styles directory, right? So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to do the same thing here, right? We're going to go up one, we're going to go up another, and then we're going to choose styles here. Oh, and then we can choose that. So let's real quick here. I want to make sure so if we do this, oh no, you gotta remember this is HTML. The difference, comments are different, right? Depends on if it's HTML or cascading style sheet, right? So I'm gonna save that. We lost all our formatting there, right? So just want to make sure that now that we move this into this file, and when it reads this file, make sure that it is applied to this page. And there we go. That's all I have today. Next video will be over chapter 4. Thanks and have a good day.